Further, it has a multiplier effect on nearly 250 allied industries. Hence, Honorable Minister, your ministry is one of the most important baselines for revival of the Indian economy. Your presence today is of utmost significance to all our panelists, as well as our attendees, who look forward to your views on how this industry in these challenging times. An important stakeholder for the industry is the Indian Construction Equipment Manufacturers Association. I would now like to invite Mr. Sandeep Singh, who is the president of ICMA, to briefly introduce ICMA and give an overview of the construction equipment industry. Over to you, Mr. Singh.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Rajesh. We are very happy to be here today, and thanks, General V.K. Singh, to be here with us today. We, from construction equipment industry, are highly excited with the announcement of stimulus package announced by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji 2 days back, and the further benefit being shared by our Honorable Finance Minister. Now, just to brief you about ICMA, which is Indian Construction Equipment Manufacturer Association, we represent more than 70 leading companies who are manufacturers, traders, and financials. And we manufacture equipments like hydraulic excavators, wheel loaders, backhoe loaders, motor graders, compactors, cranes, tippers, forklifts, dozers, and diesel engine. Entire construction equipment, what we need for the development of infrastructure in our country. And I'm very happy to say that the majority of companies have their manufacturing unit in India, and most of the equipments are localized as per the need of the customers in India. And 95% of construction equipment companies in India are members of our association, which is ICMA. And ICMA has been working towards the mission to be a single point of contact for the industry and the government for all subjects that concern the CE sector. We call it construction equipment sector. And we work as a bridge between industry and the government. And we facilitate and shape policy development by building consensus among our members, promote development of skills across stakeholders like contractors, technicians, and operators. We also encourage and promote quality, safety, and environmental friendly operating standards in our country. Encourage and promote technical competitiveness and research and development. Most of the companies, manufacturing companies, have their R&D center located in India. ICMA has been presenting various issues, concerns of the industry to the government, mainly emission norms, roadmap, requirement of testing facilities for our equipments, demand creation, which I've just talked about. The stimulus package will certainly help us in creating demand. And sometimes we face problem of delayed payments to our contractors, mainly through NHAI. I would like to mention here that construction sector, our sector contributes around 8% of Indian GDP, and we are the second largest employment generator after agriculture, except last year. Prior to that, for 4 years, we have been growing at the rate of about 20–25%. There was a huge emphasis on infrastructure. Our road sector was doing very well. There was no issue of financial liquidity, but for the last 1 year, we have been facing some issue of financial liquidity, and recently COVID-19. Our sector revenue is close to about $6 billion, and we sell more than 110,000 equipment. As my colleague mentioned, that under NIP, National Infrastructure Pipeline, 102 lakh crore budget, which is being announced for the next 5 years, it is a big boost for industry. Mainly, and this budget is mainly for 5 sectors. 50% of that goes to 5 sectors: roads, railways, urban development, and rural road development. We have a potential to grow to $10 billion in next 2 to 3 years if everything is, if this investment of 102 lakh is properly executed on the ground. We have large potential, and we contribute a lot in the infrastructure development. Over 3 million people are employed directly and indirectly in our industry. And we largely depend on the road sector, mining sector, urban development, and the overall infrastructure development where our equipments are being used, our associates like supply chain management, our vendors and financials play a very, very important role in the development of infrastructure and development of our industry. So I will leave it here. I will now request Rajesh to address to other panelists. Thank you very much, Rajesh.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sandeep Singh, for giving us a good overview on ICMA and the importance also of the construction sector and the construction equipment machinery. And I would now like to come to Mr. Arvind Garg. Mr. Garg, the road sector has been a major driver for the construction equipment industry. Hence, revival of the road sector is crucial for the growth of the construction equipment industry. We would like you to share your views on this, and I'm sure these views would also be of interest for the Honorable Minister. Over to you, Mr. Arvind Garg.
Thank you, Mr. Nath. Thank you very much. As you rightly said, the road sector is very, very important for our industry because the road network of India is perhaps the second largest in the world, totaling to almost 5.8 million kilometers, which is national highways, state highways, urban roads, rural roads, etc. National highways constitute almost 2% of this network with a length of almost 135,000 kilometers, which carries almost 40% of the total traffic. These roads have been the lifeline of the nation, ensuring connectivity and have fueled the growth of our country into a major power. We as an industry would like to thank the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways for constructing almost 40 kilometers of roads per day, which has been a key to infrastructure development of our country. NHAI, I think, built almost 4,000 kilometers of national highways in the previous year, which is a great achievement by any standard. Shri Nitin Gadkari ji has always quoted that American roads are not good because America is rich, but America is rich because America has good roads. I think that belief has also led to his pushing towards developing a very strong network of roads across the country. In India, as you just mentioned, MORTH has been one of the key contributors to infrastructure development, and various projects like Bharatmala Pariyojana or the Sagarmala program, the PMGSY, etc., have really played a very important role and have been a major demand driver for the construction equipment industry. The total investment in the roads and highway sector has gone up by almost 3 times in the last 5 years, and various new initiatives like asset recycling through the toll operate transfer model have also helped in successful monetization and an investment of almost $2 billion. This has led to rapid growth of the sector and has driven many of our contractors to expand their business in this sector, as well has attracted many new customers into the sector who fall within the MSME band. Projects driven by MORTH have also given a boost to the construction equipment industry over the years. As Mr. Singh mentioned, over the last year, almost 92,000 of construction equipment have been sold, and you will be surprised to know that almost 24,000 of these went to build roads in the country. Several policy decisions, such as the accelerated public-private partnership projects, the relaxed FDI norms to attract investment into road sector, HAM projects, etc., are also aiding the growth of the road sector and driving a strong demand for the construction equipment. Under the leadership of General V.K. Singh, several digital initiatives have also been taken by MORTH, like the fast tag implementation on tolls, PMIS for monitoring of construction projects and physical progress of the same, bidder information management systems, Bhumi Rashi portal. Many things have been done, and these, having gained momentum, are also helping in the growth of the sector. MORTH, through its projects, not only supports large construction companies and MSME contractors, but also touches the lives of several small workmen who depend on these projects for their livelihood. And hence, anything beneficial for this sector also impacts positively people who are at the bottom of the pyramid. We have almost about 7 to 8 lakh active machines operating in the infrastructure sector. And as I said earlier, 20 to 25% of these would be for building roads. Road building activity, therefore, has a positive impact on the lives of a few million people. The revival of the road sector under the current conditions is therefore very, very vital to our economy and to the industry. While we are seeing that various road projects have restarted and payments are also being released to contractors on priority, I think the key will be cash flows and ensuring that we somehow address some issues, which could be the availability of migrant labor, it could be the availability of funding at attractive interest rates as well as liquidity, and restarting some of the stalled projects. So I would sort of recommend that the government looks at setting up a high-powered, empowered committee to look at some of these issues and address them so that the sector gets revived and the economy gets rebooted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arvind Garg, and also Mr. Sandeep Singh for giving these overviews. We would now request Honorable Minister General V.K. Singh, sir, would you, if you have heard the views from two of the stalwarts of the industry, we would like to hear from your side, sir, what we have highlighted the important role that the road building sector plays for the construction equipment industry. And there are certain issues also. So may we request for your address, sir, at this point. So if you could unmute yourself. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, can we hear?
Yes, sir. Very clear. Thank you.
All the esteemed panelists who are present here and all the other participants, I can see that the number has really risen from the time that we actually came onto the web. It's gone to almost 2011 and steadily climbing up. My kudos to Shri Arvindji and all the panelists for organizing this, and kudos to all who are also attending. It goes without saying that infrastructure remains a very important part of the economy. You all have heard Shri Nitin Gadkari ji at about 1:30, I think he came on your this thing, and he would have highlighted various issues concerning the ministry. What I would concentrate on is to bring you up to date on how things are. And let me start firstly by dwelling a little bit on what the situation today is. COVID-19 has put the brakes on everything, whether it is lockdown within your own house or whether it is the way businesses are totally closed, everything came to a standstill. And it's world over. We are not the only ones, but there is a need for us to restart everything. And I think we have made a very steady, very deliberate, a well thought of process to start everything which will benefit the economy. One thing, when we talk of COVID, what I would like to say is this is a virus which has got tremendous ego. It will only come to you if you invite it. It won't come to you otherwise. So our aim should be not to invite it, let it wither away wherever it is, so that we can progress with our lives, with our business, with the various things that the country needs. The way things will be post-COVID is what we need to think of. And my own personal opinion is that this is the time that let us re-examine what we were doing so far and what we can change now. Let's look out of the box. This is an opportunity that we have got to really critically look at everything that we have been doing. What is it that will make things better? It is not going to be same. I'm very sure of it, and you would also realize it, that things are not going to be what they were before COVID struck us. And I think it is time now for us to look at every possible segment that we are dealing with to see what is it that we can do which will make things better. What is it that we were complaining about? Can we make it better now? I think the opportunity has come. So from this point of view, one of the things that I want to leave with all of you is, let us re-examine, rethink, and put up proposals to the people who can bring about this change, so that there is a change as things start moving and things become better. The way you will do business in future will also change. I'm quite sure you don't have to organize a conference in a hotel tomorrow. We can all sit in our homes and attend a meeting like we are doing it today. It's a lot of things are going to change, and things will change for the better. So let's look at it from that positive aspect that COVID-19 is going to leave with us. Now, where the government is concerned, I think the government has started very well. We had a number of meetings through the web with the transport sector. We started opening it. We started looking at attendant issues, and we looked at how we can make the things which will make the economy move a bit. Now, of course, various other measures have come in. And the last one, of course, the major one has been a 2 lakh crore package to revive the industry, to revive the businesses, and to put everything back on rail. Again, let's treat it with caution, because if we do not change, we do things the same way, things will never be in a mode which this 20 lakh crore package can give us. I think we need to look at it very seriously. Now, where our ministry is concerned, we had 2-3 things which we had thought of. The road infrastructure was well thought of almost 5 years back, when Nitinji sat down and we worked out economic corridors, the corridors for transportation, cost cutting. We looked at how we can connect the industrial areas, manufacturers to resource areas. We looked at how the ports can be well connected. All this has been planned. Certain works are already going on. Certain works have been completed. On 28th of April, we had something like 1,315 projects which were in progress. Everything came to a stop. And you'll be glad to know that we have already started 1,119 projects as of today. We are ensuring that some things which will bring liquidity, some things which will bring cash, those measures have been taken in terms of the difficulties that we used to have earlier. For example, a contractor, for the work that he has done, he'll get paid. Rest we will decide later on. But for the work that he's put in, so that people who work under him, the smaller contractors, the service providers, the equipment providers, they get the money so that it moves into the economy. That measure has been taken. We have also tried to rationalize and streamline our own procedures where extra time was required or the change of scope was required. And what we are trying to do is, we are trying to ensure that it is all a digital means so that decision making is faster. So you will find that as things move, this lacuna will be taken care of. We also are looking at how do you manage the type of traffic that was going on. You'll be glad to know that with the toll plazas starting all over again, which we had suspended for a particular period of time, we have something like 39,000, more than almost 40,000 electronic transactions that are taking place. And the value is approximately 2.40 crores per day. So things on 594 plazas that we have, and this will improve further because the traffic is still catching up. There have been problems in catching up with the traffic part. We are also trying to ensure that some of the issues that used to bog down the transporter, they're taken care of. Now, though some are, you and me know, some are state specific. How police of one state differs from the police of another state. What happens in the mechanism called RTO of the state. We are trying to ensure that things are made better. Our aim is that traffic flow must be fast. Traffic flow should be such that things become better and the haulage cost reduces. Once the haulage cost reduces, automatically things will pick up. Our aim is that whatever prestigious projects that we have looked at, which must get completed in time, a lot of attention is being given to it. And most of these expressways and economic corridors, we are looking at how they get interconnected, because it should not so happen that a person is going from Delhi to Mumbai, but he wants to go to Jaipur and he doesn't find way. He should be able to find way. Similarly, traffic from Jaipur should be able to find way to get onto this. Traffic from Kota should find way to get onto this. We should be able to find way to go from there onto Nagpur or beyond or to Vijayawada. You know, till this interconnectivity doesn't come, nation's potential cannot be exploited. So this can only be done with your help, because it is you who are going to take on the projects. It is you who are going to ensure that required material is there, material is there, and you are able to push these projects as fast as possible. I also feel that the need for future is how do we upgrade our technology in road construction, in making better highways, in using different material than what we were using so that things become better. Can we reduce the cost of road construction? Can we make the system much more mechanical? I think it is possible. And you will find that this will pay dividend as the time passes, and we will be able to recover the type of losses that we have already suffered. We are putting a system in place, or it is already in place, where traffic monitoring daily counts, it is taking place. We are trying to ensure that whatever interventions are required to make things better, they are being done. And in the system that has been now worked out by NHAI, everything right from the project site to the chairman, everything would be visible on his computer, so that he knows exactly which project is where, what is it that is moving correctly, what is it that is not moving correctly, and what is it that requires suitable intervention. It won't now depend on a person saying, okay, I'll send a report. By the time the report comes, 1 month has gone. By the time it gets examined, another month has gone. All that is going to be cut out. So you will find that you will find it easier. And I think people working on infrastructural projects will find things moving in a much better manner. Funding has always been an issue. You have cited the budget issues. I'm sure Gadkari ji would have dwelt on it. I can only take out few things of what he generally says. Couple of things which he has proposed and which I think will come through. One, that for infrastructural projects, the term of loan should be 30 years and not 20 years. Now, this will make things slightly better. Similarly, he is also suggested to the RBI and parts to be that instead of the bank guarantees, can we go onto a system of insurance? Insurance takes care of the so-called risk that is involved on that particular project, and the banker feels happy and you can say free to carry on by assessing it only purely on business point of view and advancing the loan. Similarly, there are a lot of things which he has proposed. I only cited two main ones. A lot of things which he has proposed, which will make things that much better where fund availability is concerned. There are banks which are ready to give loans at suitable amount, and I think earlier people understand that road construction is no longer a business in which you don't make much profit. I think it is a business which you make a lot of profit. You can carry on. It is your name that counts. We have learned from the failures that have taken place already in terms of ILFS and others. And I think now there's a better understanding of how things can be managed and managed well. We've also looked at the cess that we were earlier allotted, and I think we have made a bid for almost double the amount of what we were getting, so that this amount can be pumped into construction projects, which will spur many more areas which are attached to it. We are also looking at how more foreign funds can come in, loans of the ADB and the World Bank. We are looking at what is it that will make the issue better for contracts. Will it be smaller segments which can make more people come into the sector, and we can ensure that when a large thing fails, it doesn't affect the whole project. Smaller failures can be taken care of. So these are all measures that are going to come in, and I'm quite sure that we, with the type of resource optimization that is taking place, with the way that we all are looking at these measures to spur the growth, the way I think we are trying to raise hopes and motivate the entrepreneurs and the business to come out and walk with us so that we can develop, we can construct, and we can move the economy. So with these words, I'm sure you all can have a great discussion with the panelists, and I would love to have your panel report subsequently to get more ideas that will be thrown around by you, because ideas are many, and we would like to take as many as is possible so that we can make things better. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Minister. I think you have, first of all, compliments on the foresight and the proactive role your ministry has been playing. And as you said rightly, sir, the infrastructure sector, the road making sector requires the funding if the projects have to be taken up further. Sir, we would request if you have another 5 minutes. We have Mr. Vyas, who's from SREI, and I would now quickly like to hand over to Mr. Vyas. And as you said, think out of the box. I'm sure Mr. Vyas will come with certain suggestions which may be out of the box. Over to you quickly, Mr. Vyas.
Hi, sir. Once again, welcome to you and thank you for giving your time. I think it's really heartening to hear you and the proactive, as Mr. Nath said, really proactively Road Ministry has been taking all the initiatives, and road sector has been the key growth driver for our industry as well, for the equipment, sir. So we have seen a lot of initiatives taken by you, and 2 days back, Honorable Finance Minister has announced the relief to contractors, where you have touched upon that the payment system from milestone to activity based and the release of bank guarantee based on the work done already. A very good move which has been taken at the right time. Few of the suggestions we have, sir, infrastructure is the key, and road is a key part of the infrastructure. There are certain short-term pains and certain long-term issues, we thought there are some suggestions we'd like to give. One is, sir, as you covered already, that today getting bank guarantee is really a difficult thing. So we can expand the definition of guarantee from bank to financial institution. There are PFI, public financial institution, which can also issue guarantee. And the insurance company you already touched upon. Second thing, sir, that already a lot of awards are there, and more than 5 lakh crores of awards are there. And you have already started making payments against bank guarantee for the award. Our suggestion is, due to COVID, if you can release some payment against the award, funding against the award, it's a loan against the award, maybe 15%, 10%, 25%, depending on the comfort which you have. That will give a lot of kind of, revival liquidity to the contractors to revive the work. That is one thing, sir. Second thing, from the financial perspective, if you can allow to get the direct payment from the NHAI or the principals, for suppose we give the equipment on leasing or the funding to the project or the equipment leasing, and the payment can be made directly from the NHAI and other financier, that will enhance the confidence of the financier to lend more in the industry. One more thing, sir, the toll deficit is there, and we see that now it's going to be there for some more time. All the BOT projects, the contractors have been running the tolls and using that money to pay the bank debt. There will be definitely toll deficit there. We request you can announce some relief for that, because they'll different for the deficit amount of the toll which people will experience, already experience, and maybe going to experience for some more time. There are very small short-term purpose in the economy, and the technology part which you rightly pointed out. If we can have a differential, some fiscal benefit for higher depreciation, etc., for using the high technology equipment, fuel efficient equipment, etc. So maybe, people will get motivated to use that, where the man equipment, this labor migrant issue, if you can come and give kind of equipment here. And I'll also cover long-term perspective. I think maybe it's time to focus on the infrastructure bank in the countries. We cannot put it in government spending. I think that's a model. We need to have more private equity participation, private participation to have a sustainable growth of infrastructure in our country. So if we can create an infrastructure bank, like I saw there's a railway finance corporation, maybe road finance corporation, or some entity can be created, which can fund and provide.
Mr. Vyas, your voice is
not audible.
Yeah. I think
we can move to another panelist.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So, hello. Is it audible?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, Mr. Vyas. No, it's.
Yeah. So this infrastructure bank can also create some guarantee mechanism where the Indian savings can be changed infra bank, which can be used for long-term funding by way of tax-free bond, etc. So these are few short-term and long-term initiatives and suggestions which we have, which we will definitely create paper and sir, as rightly suggested, which can be considered for the short-term perspective for Mr.
Nath, I think you take over now.
Yeah, sir, I think Mr. Vyas is having some audio problems. With your permission, sir, can we quickly go to comments from the other panelists, sir, depending on your availability of time?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, fine, sir. Then I'll request maybe Mr. Saurav Agarwal. Saurav, regarding the Make in India, now that is one of the potential, because of the disruptions in the supply chain. There is a window of opportunity here in India to boost the Make in India program of the Honorable Prime Minister. Saurav, would you like to share your suggestion and comments on this, Saurav?
Yeah, recently our Prime Minister, the slogan which he has given, local, vocal, karo. I think it is very energizing and very encouraging. and has actually given a sense of breath at a time when everything was standstill. And I feel that the Indian manufacturing sector in totality has the complete wherewithal and the capability as well as the will to execute something like this easily. And over a period of time, we see a paradigm shift for the industrial and the economic landscape of the country going forward. This will also lead to a lot of backward integration for a lot of goods and component industry which are currently being imported, being made in the country. It will also make the country self-reliant apart from the economic benefits and the business increasing. But for success of such a thing, the entire ecosystem, whether it is the supplier side, manufacturer side, it is equally important that the buyer side also understands and wants to play a role in this make in India or local ko vocal karo. Because if the buyers do not encourage or push the manufacturers or suppliers of all types of goods into this, then the success will be limited. So that's what I feel. And I'm very sure that at the current juncture with this slogan, all innovative, all planning, all business minds of the country are thinking what all products, goods, small, big components that can be added to their portfolio, which are currently being imported into the country, and even our foreign currencies also leaving the country. Apart from this, the latest, the recent announcement wherein for tenders up to 200 crores by purchase of government, the global participation would not be there and it will be domestically provided for. That again is a policy decision in the same respect, which is, I think, very, very heartening, and a lot of SME sector and across sectors will get impetus to start making those things and become competitive and supply to the government, and Indian business will go to Indian companies. So with respect to the construction equipment industry, I feel that the industry in India is quite evolved, and we make all types of machinery which are required in the country for the construction of roads and other infra projects. And going forward, certain equipment and machinery which India needs to import, and also at component level, wherein certain critical components or high-end components which are not being made in India, primarily because the quantum and the numbers of these components is restricted and we need to import them. I think all of this will start to change, and the industry will gear up to making more machines which are not available in India indigenously. As a matter of fact, we are very excited about the prospect. And we already started working on some bigger models which are currently being imported because the numbers being less. So all in all, I think it is a win-win situation that if the buyer side and as well as the manufacturing side all over the country, not only for equipment but all the goods, keep this in their mind while making a decision. And India,
I think that's very valid points you brought out, Saurav. Let me quickly go to Mr. Shakti Kumar and also Mr. Deepak Garg. The Honorable Minister mentioned about technology, upgrading technology, reducing cost of road construction. Maybe I can quickly, Shakti, if you can talk about upgrading technology, and Deepak, if you can mention about how technology can help in reduction of cost of road construction. So over to you, Shakti, quickly.
Good afternoon, General VK Singh, panelists and other members, participants. I would like to talk about technology-driven systems, what the Prime Minister spoke. I think it is very relevant for the infrastructure industry. If you talk about technology like IoT, virtual reality, augmented reality, and so many other things like biometrics or listening voice recognition systems, all these things has touched many other industry, but not so much in our industry. So of late, for the past 2 years, we manufacturers have invested a lot in with a view to make a better service, remote service, sitting from our office, connecting to the site, which is very, very relevant in a time like this. We are already created the capability in our machines. But beyond that, the machines are also capable of telling the operational parameters and even to the extent of managing the projects itself. Like as the owner of project, if one would like to know how much progress has happened in a particular site, it is possible today to directly communicate from the machine. I mean, the machine can directly communicate to the stakeholders, eliminating all the human interventions or any other intervention which can reduce the accuracy or the information distortion. So what I would like to suggest from our industry is to encourage this type of technology in the machines, which can be a real boost to speed up and scale up our infrastructure construction activity in our country. And this also means upskilling a lot of our people to higher technology so that their livelihood would also get uplifted socially. So this is one request which I would like to place to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shakti. Deepak, if you could also quickly highlight how technology can play a role in reducing the cost of road construction, Deepak.
I think the biggest way to reduce the cost of construction in India is to bring in the technologies and localize them. So I think most of the construction equipment players today, the members of ICMA, we are working towards reducing the cost by localizing more and more technologies in India. The capability, the skill, and the talent exists very much in India, and these technologies, once localized, can always go beyond India as well. So when we say vocal for local, to go global is yet another thing we can look at. So while we reduce the cost through localization in India, the same technologies can be used to promote the manufacturing products from India to the other countries. So one is that. Second is, I think, which is very, very important in road construction is the cost of fuel. So the technology which industry today is working on is on high fuel efficient and resource efficient technologies, which can ultimately result in reducing the fuel consumption, coupled with IoT solutions. So it's not in isolation, but again with IoT solutions, that these technologies can help in reducing the fuel consumptions across the spectrum of activities that are being organized at any highway project. Another very important thing is that in the core manufacturing area, MSMEs are a key linkage to any construction equipment manufacturer, even to a construction company. So I think this is something where if we are able to support MSMEs to develop new technologies and to develop new products and localize more and more small products which we otherwise today import or we take services from outside. If we can localize those technologies for highway projects, I think these MSMEs can play a great role in cost reduction for the projects, as well as in localizing and generating a lot of employment for the people. One very important, I think, government has done many things in the last 2 days, announced for the MSMEs. I don't need to, repeat them like credit guarantees. But one thing, sir, a request that can be put to the right ministry is that we have capped the turnover for the medium-sized enterprises at 100 crores. Now, this is a new thing which has been introduced. I think in this time, when we are trying to promote our MSMEs, not only in India, but even for overseas business, we may like to look at this cap that we have put at 100 crores for MSMEs in terms of turnover. So I think since it is yet to go as a gadget or a notification, it will be a request that in construction segment, even in service segment for construction, even in construction equipment segment, there are many such MSMEs which have a great potential to grow, but they will still need benefits of these MSME schemes for the time being to go little more aggressive in their plans. So if we cap them at 100 crores in medium enterprise range, it may inhibit their growth for some time, considering these difficult times. So we would request you if you could consider that and take it up with the right ministry to increase this limit of 100 crores to at least 300 crores for medium-sized enterprises for the time being. So that will give these enterprises which lie in that 100 crore to 300 crore which are actually not large enterprises. It will give them a big boost in availing these benefits which the government has recently announced.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Deepak Garg. Honorable Minister, we are very grateful that you have spent so much time with us to hear the concerns from the industry also. And I think the words you have mentioned, how your ministry is going ahead, and with the help of your ministry, in fact, sir, we are all looking forward to the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways to actually kickstart the Indian economy post-COVID. And I think that is where we are very grateful for the active role that your ministry is playing. And now I would like to hand over to Mr. Bhupinder Singh, who's the Managing Director of MESI Munich India, for the vote of thanks to Honorable Minister. Over to you, Bhupinder.
Thanks, Mr. Nath. I'll keep it short. Sir, thanks for your time. It was a pleasure to talk to you and listen to you and, of course, see you. I was few minutes back with Gadkari ji moderating a MSME panel for the exhibition industry. And he mentioned the word art of living with Corona, and that we need to find a new way to live with it. So, sir, there is also a welcome change made under the MSME classification, which will certainly help our construction industry as well. And I must add, sir, listening to both of you resonate immense positivity and enthusiasm and empathy, which is what we need right now. And we do hope that our industry will continue to get your ministry's blessings, guidance and support. And hopefully we will also get to welcome you at bauma CONEXPO, where the whole world will converge at the end of the year. Hopefully, I keep my fingers crossed. And at the end, sir, we want you to stay healthy, in good health, and hope we will learn the art of living with Corona effectively.
Don't invite it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jai Hind, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, sir. Thank you. Highly appreciate it.
ICMA, we would like to seek an appointment to some of us, maybe on a platform like this at any time convenient to you, where we could take forward these discussions and take your advice on what we should as an industry reach out to your office.
I think, Bhupinder, that could be taken up also from MESI Munich side to help in the appointment. Yeah. So I think, panelists, it was very encouraging to hear the words of Honorable Minister and the extreme foresight and proactive role the ministry is playing. Let us take forward the discussion, and Mr. Sandeep Singh, actually Minister also mentioned about the technology. When we talk about technology, using better technology, it also requires a certain level of skill set among the people, Mr. Sandeep Singh. Now, generally, the manufacturing industry in India, we say we have a shortage of skilled workforce. So when we look at the construction equipment industry, Mr. Singh, how would you perceive this statement? And what is the role ICMA is playing in building the skill sets for the construction equipment industry, Mr. Singh?
Yeah, so you're right. I think the biggest challenge what construction equipment industry is facing today or have been facing, number one, is the availability of operators and technicians. And even if they're available, their skill level to operate equipment at the most efficient manner and by using the advanced technology, because we have advanced technology in many of our equipment. So just to highlight and brief all the participants here that Indian ICMA, along with Infrastructure Equipment Skill Council, we call it IESC, has developed the qualification packs for almost 85% of categories of equipment. We have very well laid training program for all the equipments. And as I would like to highlight that this industry employs more than 850,000 operators and technicians. So you can imagine the amount of manpower and the amount of employment we generate. And this is going to be double the kind of investment we are looking at in the coming years. So the requirement is going to be double in next 2 to 3 years. So therefore, there is a need of providing training to all these people. So IESC, which is the associate of ISEMA, is partnering with the government agencies, OEMs, and project consulting companies to train the people across all the category of equipment. And some of us, like OEM manufacturers, have already developed or have state-of-the-art training centers with us. And we have also got various simulators to provide training to operators and technicians at the site. So IESC has developed 39 job roles by involving industry, customers, and other relevant organizations. We have 62 training partners, and we have over 400 certified trainers to meet the challenges. And majority of these training centers, as I mentioned, are in OEMs and all that. So therefore, as of now, we have trained 50,000 candidates. In fact, in the last 2 years itself, we have trained more than 30,000 people. So we started this IESC about 5 years back. So what I'm trying to say is that from industry side, we are trying to align with the center government, state government, the relevant industry, but there is going to be a need of much higher kind of quality training program in the years to come. So therefore, I would like to urge, the industry, the government and state government to have more allocation of budget to provide training to the operators, technicians, because one, that it will help them in upgrading the skill level. Number two, it will help the industry. So that's what I would like to mention.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Singh. Mr. Arvind Garg, actually, there are several questions that are coming in from the audience. And in fact, I think there are a lot of manufacturers also, construction equipment manufacturers. And the concern they have raised, Mr. Arvind Garg, is that the BS4 CEV regulations are to be effective from 1st October 2020. Now, due to the COVID pandemic, how would the construction equipment manufacturers be able to cope this requirement, Mr. Arvind Garg? So what would be your suggestion for in this regard, Mr. Arvind Garg?
Yeah. So this is a big concern for us. Undoubtedly, as you said, a lot of our customers, all of us manufacturers were gearing up to meet the deadline, but unfortunately COVID has led to a huge disruption. And there are some 4 or 5 major things that have really affected us. One is the fact that any equipment that we produce will have to undergo trials and homologation. Now, the entire process of conducting the necessary trials and the homologation thereafter is going to be very challenging under the current circumstances.
Right.
Number 2, we had all planned to produce a certain number of machines with the earlier emission norms and then switch off to the next generation. Now, we had placed orders on our suppliers for engines and for other components to produce machines complying with the current generation of emission norms. Now, with industry going to the current situation, this is going to take a long time to be able to consume these kits that we have already ordered for the current generation of machines. Number 3, we have to keep in mind the fact that many of the technologies that are required, the I would say emission treatment systems, are imported. They are not produced in India. So these emission treatment systems for complying with the next generation are also not going to be easily available. Keeping all this in mind, ISEMA has already reached out to the Ministry of Road Transport, who is the nodal ministry in respect of this particular notification, seeking a shift by at least 1 more year. Till about 15 days back, we were not very sure how things would move, but all I can say is that we have been engaging continuously with MORTH, and we are now told that there will be some secretary level meetings that will take place to sort of evaluate and assess our request, to give it due consideration and see how to move forward. Therefore, for me, again, the request that I made some time back to get an appointment with the minister to also highlight this would be something very important. But all I can assure all the attendees across the country who are listening to us, we are equally concerned and we are equally, I would say, strongly taking it up with the ministry, and we are very confident that we will definitely get due consideration of these very, very valid, I would say, requirements and reasons for seeking a shift.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Arvind Garg. I think that would, because there are a lot of questions that have come on this topic, and I think certainly your answer and reply.
Mr. Nath, you would also, with Mr. Singh, who has also been leading it, to add to what I have said.
Right. Yes,
yeah,
Mr.
I think
Arvind,
so Arvind, I will just add, apart from what Arvind has mentioned, we have a challenge from engine manufacturers also, because they are also not fully equipped to supply us engine, like Arvind mentioned, because after treatment is being imported from Europe, mainly from Europe. So we may not be able to get the component from either the engine or the after treatment. So it's a challenge. And we have already had 2 rounds of meetings with the government, and we expect that government will be sympathized to us. And we are trying our best to convince them that we are not trying to move away from better fuel efficient machine, but we are stuck because of COVID-19. So we hope that within next 2 to 3 weeks, we should be able to get some positive response from the government. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Thank you, Mr. Arvind Garg. Let me come to Mr. Vyas now. Mr. Vyas, a major component of the recent stimulus package focuses on NBFCs, housing finance companies, and microfinance institutions. The government proposes to launch a 30,000 crore special liquidity scheme for these companies. The funds will be used to buy debt issued by NBCs, HFCs, and MFIs. The measures will supplement the actions by RBI to enhance liquidity. Now, Mr. Vyas, in your opinion, is this stimulus package enough, and will it bring positive outcomes, Mr. Vyas? Mr. Vyas, you're muted. Okay, I think Mr. Vyas muted.
There, yeah. So maybe we can go to. Yeah, Mr. Vyas is. Yeah, Mr. Vyas.
Mr. Vyas, could you hear my question? Okay. I think fine. Let me then maybe we'll come to Mr. Vyas later on when that. Let me now come to Saurav. Saurav, you had mentioned about Make in India, also how we want to global karna. Now, Saurav, when we talk about Make in India program as an equipment manufacturer, you are dependent on a lot of suppliers also, which supply you components, critical components. Now, as we want to scale up and we want also to manufacture more in India and also have perhaps foreign companies coming and manufacturing in India, sort of is our supplier network at this stage, can it undertake these endeavors? And what role can OEMs like you help to develop this supplier network, Saurav?
With respect to components and availability of other aggregates, India produces quite a lot and a lot of good variety and good quality of them. And to an extent that most of the global companies and manufacturers have also set up shop in India in the last 8, 10, 12 years. So to develop even bigger capacity or higher grade hydraulics and components of the right quality to meet the global standards in the machines, I don't see that as a problem at all. Yes, it will not happen overnight. It will not start to happen. There might be some hits and misses here and there on the way. But over a period of next 6 months to 1 year, I'm sure that, and not only for bigger machines or heavier machines or special models which are going to come into India, but even apart from that, even at current juncture, a lot of manufacturers amongst us do import certain components from outside India, whether they're from Europe, Japan, and even come from China. So I'm sure that the development of these components in India and quality supply and our capability with respect to be able to push our vendors and suppliers and supply chain people to be able to develop it of the right quality is going to happen and bound to happen. And in any case, if there is any technical or any type of other support required, so all manufacturers are definitely there to push and help our supply chain partners.
Thank you, Saurav. Mr. Vyas, can you hear us now? Mr. Vyas, you're muted. Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yes, now it's okay. Could you follow my last question, Mr. Vyas? Should I repeat the question?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know that I can follow the question. I think government. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Mr. Vyas. Yes.
Yeah. So the government has announced the package for NBFC. The two announcements were made. One was for 30,000 crore, where the bonds which will be used for primary and secondary bonds issuance, and I believe out of that 50,000 will be for secondary market and 50% of that will be for the primary market. I think that's a very good move because that will really play a major role in establishing the bond market. Today, the NBFC were dependent on the bank financing. With this move, the NBFCs will be able to raise liquidity from the investors beyond bank. So the risk also will get distributed among investors. And since by the government, it will really create a good positive move in the NBFC's investors' mindset, where the NBFC going forward, though the 30,000 amount may look small or reasonable, but this will really create a positive vibes for the investors. So the investors will come forward and invest in the NBFC bond going forward. And it will also help to establish the bond market, which is the need of the hour. And another move which government has taken of 45,000 crore under PCG, extending the PCG guarantee scheme from the NBFC. The government was
Mr. Vyas,
we have a problem. I think he has already given.
bonds.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we are not able to hear you. Maybe we'll, I think more or less you've clarified the points. Yeah.
Mr. Nath, I think we can move to someone else now.
Yes.
And Mr. Vyas, your voice is not audible. So
Right.
I think the speaker later, whatever information that we need to add.
Right.
The speaker.
Yeah, let me come to Mr. Deepak Garg now. Mr. Deepak Garg, there's a question that has come. Is electric earth moving and construction equipments, how do you foresee the market or the future for electric construction equipments in India? And what are the endeavors from the manufacturers in this regard, Mr. Deepak Garg?
See, I think sooner or later, like electric mobility or the electric vehicles are becoming a reality. I think sooner or later this will also come to the construction equipment. Now, today when you see the equipment space in India, there are many multinational companies who are manufacturing in India, more and more local development and more local equipment. So most of the companies are working towards developing electric technology for the construction equipment. We know for sure that there are many of our partners here who are already developing these technologies for different type of products. So I think sooner or later, all these companies will be able to offer these electric products in India as well. The question still remains here is that in this technology, I have some knowledge about some of the global OEMs who are working on it. The main issue is on the power and also the durability, the longevity of the batteries. So I think this is something which the global industry is working on for the equipment. So even for large commercial vehicles, because this would need the power of a large commercial vehicle kind of an size. So I think going forward, this will become a reality in India. It's just a matter of time. But going forward, I'm sure this would come up with the demand for necessary infrastructure to get into. So first it may start with hybrids and then maybe moving to the pure electric versions. So this is an evolution of the equipment industry which may take place. So we have hybrids which are there already existing, and then which may move onwards to pure electric.
So it will be in a phased manner. That is what you are saying, Mr.
I think so, because that has to evolve. And also, see, India is also a very cost sensitive market. So if these technologies, if the cost effectiveness has to be there for the local market.
Right.
So while yes, localization of those technologies will bring down cost, volumes growing globally will also bring down cost. So
right.
These advantages, once they start accruing to the global industry, they will flow to India as well. So
right.
it's evolution that will happen.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Deepakar. Shakti, coming to you now. Several questions have come up. Is after the lockdown, now restarting the operations, what are the factors one must take into consideration, Shakti? And also many of the people in the audience are asking, what is going to be the new norm now in the manufacturing industry?
Actually, I would like to say and acknowledge, since the stop of the whole industrial activity has happened almost suddenly, the volumes, the numbers required in the market is substantially reduced. That means that the requirement for full-scale manufacturing is not started yet. So that gives us a leeway for us to manage this SOPs required for restarting the manufacturing, where social distancing is one of the key things. So it is making for all of us, the problems are easily solvable. So this is first point. And the second is we have to wait and see how it is going to unfold. Like the minister said, and everybody knows, whether the control is going to be quick enough or it is going to be over a period of time. If the recovery is fast, then we need to really look at various ways to manage the situation, maybe increase the number of shifts, not having overlapping shifts. So this could be some of the thought process which can help all the manufacturers to manage the situation of meeting the total monthly production requirement without getting into bigger space or any other activity which involves bigger investment. So that is one part of it. And otherwise we have to see tomorrow, if we have a situation where the vaccine is found, then we will be talking completely in a different tone. So at the moment, the reduced number is helping. This is my answer would be. Thank you.
Thank you, Shakti. Thank you for this feedback. And coming now to Mr. Arvind Garg and Mr. Sandeep Singh. So we are already taking questions. There are a lot of questions pouring in from the audience. And I think one of the concerns that a lot of people are echoing is the workforce, the migrant workforce. Now, how can this migrant workforce, are there any opportunities that the states would offer for employment of this migrant workforce who has perhaps gone back to their states? Can we take that? Maybe I'll ask Mr. Singh first to start, and then I would request Mr. Arvind Garg also.
Yeah, very good question, because this is what we have been discussing among all the industry, that the biggest problem we are facing today, even if government has announced started construction activity, but we don't have daily wages or people working at the site, whether they are operators, technicians, or to do other jobs. So I think the best thing what government or we can do is, most of the migrant laborers have come from states like UP, Bihar, Telangana, Jharkhand, part of MP. And there are a lot of projects which are stalled or which are there in the pipeline, which the government is talking about now. They would like to, push all those projects and kickstart those projects and reactivate those projects. So I think what they can do is put priority on the projects in those states where migrant labor have already gone back, and try to kickstart the construction activity over there, so that these people can be used in their own state. And this will help in many, many ways. One, that bring in employment for them in their own state. They'll be very comfortable. Their cost of living will be much more lower. And number two, those states which are not doing too well will suddenly pick up in infrastructure. So these are some of my thoughts, and Arvind also has got some more inputs on this because we talked about it in the last 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, Sandeep, what you're saying is right. So there are two aspects to this, Mr. Nath. One is to do with the construction industry, and then the other is to do with the equipment industry. So to address the issues of the construction industry, I think companies, large infra companies with a pan-India, I would say, presence would find it a little easier to deal with it, because if people move from one state to their respective states, I'm sure there'll be some others who would come to these states as well. There would be movement within states, and therefore I think companies operating on a pan-India basis, having projects across the country, will be able to handle it better. But I'm sure also that many of these people who are the so-called migrant workers, or people who are the daily wages, once they go back to their own, I would say, villages or to rural India, they will also have to find livelihood. And there's also a very strong belief that in about a month or 2 months, they will be able to come back, provided they are properly incentivized. So my own understanding from what is happening within our company is that we are trying to work out a roster system by which some people can go. And number two, there can be an incentivization process to get them back. Now, coming to the construction equipment industry, which means our operators and mechanics, etc., there, as an industry, we are trying to now sort of develop a platform where we will be able to keep information about operators and mechanics. So people who are moving to certain states can say that they need a job, and customers can tell us that they need operators or mechanics. And we will try and connect them together, especially with the help of IESC. As you rightly said, this is something which is evolving on a day-by-day basis. We will have to be very watchful, and we will have to find innovative solutions on the go. I don't think anybody has an answer to what is likely to happen. But to me, the belief is that these people will need jobs. They know that they've got certain skills, and they would like those skills to be utilized and get paid for it. So we'll have to provide the necessary opportunities and the platforms to connect the ones who seek jobs with the ones who are seeking people. And if we can bring them together, I'm sure there'll be some solution. And again, technology will play a very big role in that.
So I think, Mr. Garg, a lot of collaboration and cooperation is required here. And I think various agencies have to work together to ensure this. But thank you for this feedback. Yes.
Yeah, so IEC will play a very big role in this, because Mr. Singh talked about training and the number of operators. So we are building a big database. We will also, as IESC and ICMA, play a role in connecting our customers and the people who support our missions.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Arvind. Mr. Vyas, now there is a question that has come. Is the government of India considering a relook at GST on construction equipment? So do you think something can be done here?
So I think I'm not sure about that, whether the GST, because it cannot be standalone, be done for one sector only. I think the entire GST, if they're relooking at it, they will have equipment GST. But I think there are. Am I audible still, or
yes? Yeah.
But I think what the equipment company has to do is that the productivity of the equipment has to be looked at. The small benefit in terms of what we recommend to the government is that in terms of giving some fiscal deficit, or the I was seeing some of the comments coming in the chat box that lost idling equipment. Maybe there should be a kind of a insurance protection, insurance policies for the loss of business profits, for the loss of business because of these things, etc. So I think the more focus would be on how to see that, how to really protect or mitigate the risk of loss of business and loss of profit, than actually saving some amount of tax here and there. That may not be really significant view, and it may not add much kind of to the government kitty or to the people who are asking for it. But if we can really look at protecting the business laws and using the equipment for different kind of work and different, as because I was just listening that labor issue which you highlighted, it goes with that also, that people will focus more on localization, that whatever labors you have, so you'll have to use the equipment accordingly and look at earning more revenue than actually just look at saving some of the tax revenues. But just to add, Mr. Nath, here is that already there's been a lot of benefit has been given to MSME particularly. If you hear this 2 days back, the MSME benefit which has come in terms of giving unsecured loan. So people can take unsecured loan with the government guarantee and can use to really, take care of the GST liability, etc. Then the government has also ensured that functioning MSMEs which are into stress, there the government is willing to give money to the promoter, who in turn can put in the money as equity into the company. And third thing is the MSME who wants to expand, government has created a further fund, equity fund for them. So I think one is giving working capital by way of unsecured loan. Second is by way of providing you a stress fund to take care of the stress if you're functioning well, to take care of this timely, the short-term stress which will help you. And third is expansion capital. So all three needs has been taken care of by the government for the MSME. I think these all things should put together will help everyone to grow. So I don't see that GST should be really tweaked about with this. Instead, with these benefits, people should look at reviving and rebooting and restarting business and earning the money.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vyas. Perhaps the last question I would like to then put it to Saurav, Deepak ji, and also Shakti. This question is challenges that the panel sees in the next 3 months for the construction equipment industry. So maybe briefly we could get a statement from each of you. Maybe we'll start with Shakti first.
Can you repeat the question?
Challenges the panel sees in the next 3 months for the construction equipment industry.
Financing, you mean?
No, the challenges, I think, because I was talking more on the demand, supply and demand aspect, Shakti.
See, actually, for the equipment demand, we really do not see any shortage. I fully agree to the statement of the minister, where he said many of the projects are restarted because we could see that from a demand for our service people also from across India. So even the orders, what is pending, no cancellation, customers are only postponing and talking about non-availability of finance. The slew of measures, what the government has taken, announced, I think it is going to take some time for that to materialize. So we expect, even though there is a reduction in the invoicing and shipments at this point of time, I think it will soon come back. That is our hope. I think in the next couple of months, the thing should get sorted out. Once everybody starts understanding the whole process, how the money can be made available for purchasing of machineries. But those projects which are critical and going in full steam, people are finding the way to still open letter of credits and transfer funds, and the shipments are happening.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Shakti. Deepak, can also state your statement on this.
Well, I think the demand we see in the long term would be good. So it should recover from the current levels. But I think in the near term, which I should say around 6 months, the demand is going to remain subdued. The orders are there, but the financing still remains a constraint. So most of the financiers are currently looking at collection as their main activity. So they are not very keen on lending beyond a point. Also, most of the financiers are going for changing the norms, or I should say their credit metrics or whatever you call. So they are changing the norms. So if they were lending to first-time buyers and first-time users at certain terms, they are changing those terms. So that would, the financing availability will be a big challenge. Third thing which we see because of this migrants issue, the equipment operator and maintenance staff will be shortage in some states. So if you take western part of the country, southern part of the country, where there are a lot of operators who come from eastern part and northern part of the country, there would be a shortage. So we are already seeing that shortage in equipment, also in trucks as drivers. So this will be another challenge which we see to continue at least for some time. Another very big challenge would be the revival of the real estate sector. So with the new norms of work from home, the commercial real estate or the office real estate demand, which is likely to remain subdued for some time, or it may even have a long-term impact, that may impact the real estate sector to some extent. So this coupled with even the average income levels going down, the real estate pickup may have a little lag in the near term. So this is one more issue that we think would be a challenge for the construction equipment industry going forward.
Yes, Mr. Vyas, you want to add quickly? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add about this demand part because 90% of the equipment sold are generally finance, and the finance is the key requirement for the growth of our industry. And as Deepak said, the finances, it will take time. I think all of us have approached the Reserve Bank, the government, saying that they should allow for this due to this COVID-19, a one-time restructuring of all these customers without impacting the asset quality in terms of NPA, etc. This will give them this will allow them to match the cash flow disturbance which has happened or which is expected to continue for next few months, so that they can continue their work and the finances will be open to fund more equipment depending on the job requirement what is there. Because if this restructuring is not done, there will be default which will be seen by the financer and the customers. So everybody will be reluctant and risk averse to fund the same customer again, whereas it could be a genuine requirement for him to buy the equipment and the financing. So I think this one-time restructuring is taken care of, will take care of reduce the stress from the existing system, and the financiers will be open to do further funding to the same customers.
Right. Thank you. Deepak, you had one last statement.
I think I fully agree with Vyasi, but then there is also a practical aspect to that. The financiers are considering restructuring and moratorium as some kind of, if they don't recover from the moratorium, from the rental companies or from the contractors, they are considering, some of them, I won't say all, some of them are considering it as a negative for the customer, for the equipment owner. So that, I think this is also one of the mindset change or some policy change with the financiers or the bankers or the NBFCs will have to take into consideration that when such restructuring is allowed by RBI or even the moratorium is being given, that should be considered in a true sense to support the equipment owner rather than taking it as a negative to hold back the funding for some time.
Thank you. Saurav, anything you want to add to this? Just quickly, briefly.
Yes, I would definitely like to add here. And initially, when I heard the question, it was more to do with the construction equipment industry and manufacturers.
Yes.
Definitely, the orders which we had prior to closing down, yes, most of them still stand. Yes, there has been some cancellations, but there has definitely been delays, with respect to, because customers are not certain when exactly the site will properly become functional and all that. So there's definitely delays with respect to execution of those orders which are pending. And apart from that, I think one of the biggest problems which most of the equipment manufacturers are going to face and must be facing is to manage and sustain their cash flows in the short term, because most of everybody has unsold inventories from month of March and everything available. So which will take time because of muted demand. It will take a little time over a period of less than 3 to 6 months when this will get adjusted and the money comes back to the cash flow. So yes, cash flow management for equipment manufacturers is of prime importance as of now to stay afloat. And definitely, we were lucky enough, our units are outside the municipal limit. So we were able to start on 24th of April after the necessary approvals. But we did realize that because the country and bigger markets like Bombay, Pune, Tamil Nadu, Chennai or Delhi, Ahmedabad, the bigger markets are still under lockdown. So more or less complete sort of a lockdown. So with respect to our orders, with respect to execution or the machines which were stuck in transit, there's so many of them and so many machines inside our plant already built and waiting be dispatched to customers. So with respect to supply is in sort of a disarray, and there are numerous trucks already standing somewhere in the way without drivers as of now to take them to destination. But the bigger side of the problem is the incoming supply chain. Now, the supply chain around us or around most of the manufacturers would have started operating or would be in the process. But in these bigger cities, where definitely all of us have some sort of suppliers, major or minor, and how quickly they get back to action, that will also be a big role playing in time with respect to our ability to manufacture machines.
Thank you, Saurabh. I think these are very valid points that you have raised. Now, for the very last statements, I would request Mr. Arvind Garg and Mr. Sandeep Singh, short, crisp statement, one suggestion you would give to the industry to sustain in these COVID period, in these difficult times. Mr. Arvind Garg, just one statement from your side.
Very brief, very uncertain times, evolving change every day. And therefore, to my own sense, I would say that we must find innovative methods to overcome. We should not allow ourselves to get overwhelmed. Communication is the key. We will have to keep communicating with our teams, within the industry, and with all our customers, and find the right way. I come from Bangalore, and RCB has a very simple thing: be bold. So I think that's all we can do.
Thank you, Mr. Arvind Garg. Mr. Sandeep Singh, last statement from your side.
Yeah, thank you. So most important thing is stay safe and positive. I believe this is the time when we have to strengthen our relationship with our customers more and more, because many of our customers would need support at this point of time. They may not be able to pay us on time, but then we need to support them. And the most important thing is secure the talent in the organization, take care of them, give them confidence that we are going to stay, we are going to come out of this problem very soon. That's all from my side.
Thank you, Mr. Sandeep Singh. Friends, I think we heard from our learned panelists, the need of the hour is actually collaboration between government, contractors, rental companies and OEMs for the quick revival of the stalled projects and minimizing the liquidity crunch. This can be an accelerator for the growth of the economy after the disruption suffered due to the lockdown. India needs to be innovative in the months to have a quick recovery post this lockdown. This would see revival in the consumer sentiments despite of the global economic depression, and India as a nation would have possibility to stand out here. Times are difficult, no doubt, but he who shows resilience, he who shows determination, and he who shows foresight shall come out of this successfully. I'd like to conclude with a Sanskrit shlok from the epic Mahabharata, which says, Yato dharmasto jaya, where there is adherence and perseverance to right action, there lies victory. I would also like to thank Honorable Minister General V.K. Singh for gracing this panel and with his presence and participation. And of course, I would like to thank all the panelists for their, I think, very open and good remarks and sharing their experience. And of course, I would like to thank the audience who have joined us in large numbers. We had almost around 2,500, if not more, people who joined this webinar. And I would like to thank Messe Munich also for organizing this webinar and for so successfully conducting this webinar. Bhupender, I would now like to hand over to you, please.
Thank you, Mr. Nath. Nothing from my side to add further, except for, and I'm saying this on behalf of the industry and on behalf of myself, that it's very good to see all of you virtually after a long gap. It's really nice to see all of you. And thanks, Mr. Nath, for once again brilliantly organizing the session. Thanks to all the distinguished guests on the panel for taking the time and sharing their views with the industry. Special thanks to ICMA, I would say, for such initiatives at a time when industry needs it the most. And big thanks to our community for joining in such good numbers. And today we are also on Facebook Live. So I'm sure thousands of people will view this around the world and benefit from this rich experience, rich exchange of information. And we have some key pointers from and for the ministry. And post-lockdown, we will be more than happy to facilitate and to be as a catalyst to further this interaction with the ministry. So thanks again and hope to see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Nath.
Mr. Vaz.
Thank you.
Thank you.